LA 21-12681. Offices in Baton Rouge. Now, The Hunt Palmer Show. You are now listening to The Hunt Palmer Show on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge. Locking down the middle of the day. Live from the Mercedes-Benz of Baton Rouge studios. This is Hunt Palmer.
Welcome into the Hunt Palmer Show, a Monday edition of the Hunt Palmer Show. That was not Hunt's signature welcome in, and I am not Hunt Palmer. Taylor Sharp sitting in for you for the next 2 hours, filling in for Hunt. He is once again a little bit under the weather. I've been told that he's likely back tomorrow. That is not 100% yet, so we're going to rock and roll together in the meantime. And look, a big sports weekend to recap if you're a Louisiana sports fan. LSU baseball gets their first series win of the year in SEC play. The Pelicans on Friday, they win the play-in game against the Sacramento Kings, beating them for the 6th time this season. They get into the playoffs, play their first playoff game last night. We'll recap all of that. We'll get into some New Orleans Saints news as the draft is creeping up, the first round coming up this Thursday. I do want to go around the room and check on our producers. We got Jacob Beck on audio, Cassie on video. Guys, how we doing?
Doing great. How about you?
Doing pretty good. I'm a little tired, but I'm good.
A little tired? Yeah, same. Was not expecting to be in this role today, but look, we're gonna roll with the punches and we're gonna make this thing happen. Look, I teased all of the great things that happened over the weekend if you're a Louisiana sports fan, but anytime a team wins a national championship, you're gonna be hard pressed to tell me that that's not where you lead your program, and that's where we're going to lead today. Most of you know by now. And if you don't, well, check this out. LSU Gymnastics, they win their first national championship in program history. It was this Saturday, about 5 o'clock in the afternoon, with another score of over 198. So it's actually 198.225 was the final score. Something that we've seen that we're all too familiar with this year. We know how hard it is to get a 198, but I mean, it just seems like every other meet this year, these girls were doing just that. And you know, the Tigers started on the floor exercise, and junior KJ Johnson, who's really been a staple for this gymnastics team, she actually fell in her second tumbling pass, ended up with a score of 9.28. But as we know in gymnastics, 6 gymnasts go per event. You count 5 scores, so one of them can get dropped. They were able to drop that one, and they dropped it in a big way. Every other score outside of KJ Johnson was a 9-9 or above on the floor. Now, Haley Bryant, who from, talking to Jay Clark on OTB, listening to other sportscasters that know a lot more about gymnastics than myself, she's basically being considered the Joe Burrow of college gymnastics, just dominating. She's going to be the individual national champion at the end of this year. She led the way on the floor, no surprise, had a 9.93, and then Kaya Johnson, a 9.925. She's the anchor of that floor routine, as she has been all year. So needless to say, all your scores are 9.9 and above. You're in first place after that first rotation. Now on vault, another 9.95 from Haley Bryant. So you're feeling good about things, right? But then Utah starts to find a groove. Utah's catching up. They wind up taking the lead. Cal's doing really good. And then Florida, Florida's a lot like you as a gymnastics program. Always seems to be inside the top 10, always competing for championships, never quite able to break through. Not unlike you, that would not change on this Saturday evening. But like I said, Utah takes the lead, and then you have to end up on the beam. Now, anybody who's followed this gymnastics team knows just how dominant they have been all year long. If there is a weakness, it's the beam, which you could say that for most teams. I mean, again, I'm not an expert on gymnastics. I've never coached. I've never participated. To me, it just always seems like the beam is the hardest of the 4 events. So to have to end on the beam and get it done that way, they got the hardest draw, in my opinion. But, you start out strong, and then your second gymnast, not unlike the floor routine, has a fall. But can you overcome that fall? Everyone else basically has to be perfect when you have a fall early on like that. They were. The last 3 gymnasts to go on the beam for you, 9.95s across the board. You close it out with 3 straight 995s. And, such a clutch performance by Aaliyah Finnegan. We all remember her older sister, Sarah Finnegan, who was here as well. She competed in the Olympics. But, Aaliyah's a girl that has just been super clutch all season long. And for her to get up there, you felt so good about it, right? You're like, look, I know this is a hard event. I know a lot's riding on it. But, outside of Haley Bryant, there may not have been a gymnast in that building that you felt better about being on the beam to close it out for you. And as soon as she landed off of that beam, landed her dismount, you could see the tears flow, and she knew what was at stake. And, to be clutch like that in that big of a moment, tip of the cap to her and really every gymnast. Now, Cassie, you said you watched this. I did as well, but what are your thoughts? I know you and Jesse, y'all are big into like the dance and all that. So this is, a little bit up your alley. What did you make of this?
No, I really enjoyed watching it. I was kind of nervous with them ending up on beam because they haven't been the best at beam throughout the season. But like you said, they really came in clutch, and I think it was Florida who had like 2 girls fall, or maybe it was Utah.
So Utah had 2 on the vault.
It was Utah.
Yes, it was their first 2 actually.
But so I think that we kind of got lucky with like 2 girls kind of not doing their best. But yeah, it was really great to watch.
Well, so isn't that kind of the difference between winning a championship and not winning a championship? I talked about it. LSU had a bad fall on the beam, but you finish it out with 3 straight 995s. Utah's first tumbling pass on the vault, they fall. It's a 9-2. And you're like, okay, you can overcome that. But the second one happens as well. And then that's a 9-6. And you have to keep that 9-6 on the board because you already eliminated the 9-2. That gave LSU all the momentum that they needed. And, it was too big to overcome for Utah, especially when you have 3 straight 995s. But Cassie, you mentioned something just a second ago, and I'm glad you did. I wanted to touch on that a little bit. I don't know how this is decided. I'm assuming it's just the luck of the draw. But when I turned on the TV and they were about to get this thing started, and they said LSU's on the floor first, my heart stopped a little bit. I was like, this is worst case scenario for where LSU can be. Because, look, we can all kind of figure it out, right? The floor seems to be the easiest. It's the fun. It's the last event. It's high energy. Now you have to get up, have all that energy on the floor, and then come back down to earth, calm down, maintain your composure for the rest of the meet. So not only is starting on the floor hard, but ending up on the beam. I feel like that's the worst combination when you start on the floor and you end on the beam. Because, the floor is probably the least nerve-wracking, right? It's where you can just kind of go out there, be free, be loose, have a lot of fun. The beam, complete different side of the spectrum. It's the most nerve-wracking in my opinion. It's the slower. Everyone's seen the tumbling passes and everything on the floor. It's the upbeat music. Sometimes you're playing the Tiger Fight song. For the beam, it's always slower. It's a lot more mental. And for them to close it out like that, because I'm watching it in the middle of this, I'm like, if they get this done, then this just shows you how good of a team this truly is, because they're having to take the hardest path to get there. I much would have rather have been a Utah, for example, who got to end on the vault. But that just goes to show you that it's not always the case, because Utah did end on the vault. They had 2 falls on the vault. You end on the beam, and you're excellent. And again, like Cassie mentioned, you've struggled a little bit on the beam. As much as a top 5 team all year long, as dominant as LSU can struggle, but to finish out on the beam like that, 3 straight 995s, tip of the cap to them. And, it was cool in the audience. Dee Bro was there in attendance, and she is responsible for building up this program like it was. On OTB this morning, we had Jay Clark on, and he said, look, I want to thank Dee Bro. She brought me into this program. She kind of mentored me and helped me get familiar with this role before I took over as head coach full time. So to see her in the audience, it was excellent. And did you guys see the crowd that they had here back in Baton Rouge when they gathered? There's pictures floating all around, and they're right outside the gymnastics facility and the PMAC, right there in the middle by, the Shaq statue, the Simone Augustus statue, all of them. It's packed. They got a stage, and it's shoulder to shoulder. You can't see any empty spots. It is purple and gold, just a sea of colors as far as you can see. To get that kind of welcome, and look, for those of you who have not been to an LSU gymnastics meet inside of the PMAC, that's nothing new. I think I was telling Jake or T-Bob the other day, I'm like, the most packed I've ever seen the PMAC on 3 different occasions. If you had to give me a top 3, they would all 3 be the gymnastics meet. The most recent was the big meet against Arkansas they had where they set the program record for the highest score that they've ever had. They fill that place out. And we know they're building a new PMAC. What's going to become of the old one? Look, I don't see why you can't just turn that over to gymnastics altogether because their facility's right next door to it. They do a great job of packing it out. They perform well inside that building. So, Jay Clark, he talked about, hey, we're going to enjoy this one for a little while, about a week or so. But now my expectations have been raised, and the expectations from the public has been raised. For so long, you've been the team that is going to get there in the finals and can't quite get over that hump, can't quite get over that hill. You did it. And yes, you had a big break when Oklahoma fell and did not make it to the finals. It's not so dissimilar to what happened with LSU women's basketball last year when South Carolina gets upset by Iowa in the Final Four. After that happens, you're like, wait a minute, LSU has a real shot at this thing. It was the same thing here because Oklahoma's been a juggernaut. I mean, they've been the team to beat for so many years here in collegiate gymnastics. You catch a break. We talked about it. They didn't catch any breaks in the finals. You start on the floor, you end on the beam, but they were able to catch the one break that did matter when Oklahoma did not make it to the finals. Sometimes that is all you need. And again, congratulations to Jay Clark and all of the LSU gymnasts. They take home their first national championship in the program's 53-year history. All right, we're going to take a quick timeout. The LSU baseball team got their first SEC series win of the season. We'll recap how that happened coming up next here on the Hunt Palmer Show, 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
You are now listening to the Hunt Palmer Show.
One Bath and Closets, onebathandclosets.com. David Duvall and his team, 30 years, redesigning and remodeling bathrooms and closets. There are a lot of people who are not over the moon with their current home. Well, you can improve where you live. One Bath and Closets is happy to help you do that. Brand new customized closet, brand new bathroom, soup to nuts. They do the entire thing for you. You don't have to call 3 different contractors to get this entire thing done. No, you make one call to One Bath and Closets. They handle the entirety of it. Maybe you're not looking for something that extensive. Maybe you're looking for something like a tub to shower conversion. They can do that as well. You don't reuse that tub. They can take it out, put a glass walk-in shower in, changes the look of your bathroom, changes the functionality of your bathroom, adds value to your home. So if down the road you're looking to move on, that's an asset that you've got right there under your roof. Worried about paying for it? Financing options are very much available for the folks over at One Bath and Closets. It starts with a free consultation, a questionnaire, and then a plan. They get it done and they do it right the first time and leave the competition behind. It's One Bath and Closets. You can check them out online at onebathandclosets.com.
Our listeners fire off their opinions on the jimsfirearms.net hotline at 499-1045. Keep listening for your next chance to shoot us your thoughts with the jimsfirearms.net hotline on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Elevate brand visibility, ignite customer engagement with the power of radio and digital advertising combined. Guarantee Digital Media brings the two together as a trusted media partner in Louisiana for nearly a century. Claim your free digital audit at guaranteemedia.com.
Bayou Ford has $10,000 off F-150s, $10,000 off the new F-150 truck, plus 1.9% for 72 months. And all new Bayou Ford vehicles come with a 1 million mile warranty. The crew at Bayou Ford is going to do right by you.
Breck teamed up to reimagine your parks, and you imagined big. With your help, we went to work, creating 12 beautiful community parks across the parish. A family-sized water park, miles and miles of trails, and parks just for your dogs. There are more places to splash, to explore, to run wild, and even soar. You imagined, we delivered. Gold. Breck, your #1 park system in the nation.
Electricity is all around us, and our families depend on it. Every day is sparked by the power of a cold drink or a warm meal, a movie night, and a comforting light at the end of a dark hallway. From sunrise to sunset, playtime to bedtime, our team is ready to take care of your electrical needs. Even in the case of an after-hours emergency, the light in your life shines brighter with Mr. Electric.
There it is, the extra mile, on the border of expected and extraordinary for those willing to go further, like vans customized for work or play, with safety and tech to keep you connected. Supported by a 5-star sales, service, and finance team. and backed by the one-star you know. So go the extra mile. It's never crowded because so few have what it takes to go there. Mercedes-Benz Vans.
Hey, it's Matt Moscona. For years, you've heard me tell you about Insurance Network of Louisiana, helping you find better coverage for less money. But it's not just for your home and auto. They also offer commercial property. So, retail stores, professional offices like doctors, dentists, attorneys, clothing boutiques. Insurance Network of Louisiana can find you better coverage for less money. They service the entire state of Louisiana, and they're local. So call today at 293-0450 or lainsurance.net.
I've been doing business with Luba for 25 years. They're dependable, trustworthy. It's just the attention to detail with our clients.
Our folks have years and years of experience. They're highly trained professionals, but many companies have that asset. What I'd like to think makes Luba a bit different is that we use those talents in a way that truly...
Sandigrove join us for the Tuesday edition of Live at Lunch from Doe's Eat Place on Government Street in Mid-City. We're a couple of days away from the NFL draft, and Andy Isco joins us from Las Vegas. Live at Lunch, 11 a.m. Tuesday on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
.104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge and the Baton Rouge Clinic bring you the Dreams Come True Radiothon. Dreams Come True is an organization designed to help grant dreams for children with life-threatening illnesses and their families. The Dreams Come True Radiothon is presented today by Service Chevrolet, Lewis Mechanical, and the Lucky Law Firm. Donate today at 1045ESPN.com.
You're listening to The Hunt Palmer Show, brought to you by Gulf Coast Office Products.
Welcome back into the Hunt Palmer Show. Taylor Sharp here with you, sitting in for Hunt Palmer, who's a bit under the weather, but he is supposed to be back in the host chair tomorrow. But for the remainder of the day, we are riding right along with you. I teased it going into the break. LSU gets a series victory over Missouri. It's their first SEC victory as far as a whole series goes for the entire season. This is the very first one. So they win 2 out of 3 on the road. They're now 5-3 in the SEC with 4 series left. Let's kind of break down game by game how it went. In game 1, it was the Gage jump show. I mean, the sophomore left-hander, a career-high 14 strikeouts on Friday night. And if you watched that game, you saw how dominant Gage jump was. He was in control of 3 different pitches. I mean, they weren't touching him. He gives up the 1 run, only gives up a handful of hits. It was dominance by him. Jumps 14 strikeouts. It's actually the most by an LSU pitcher since last season. You guys remember Ty Floyd's historic performance in the College World Series where he had 17 strikeouts versus Florida. So Jump right there with the elite as far as performances go. Is a complete 7-inning game because you do run rule them. You get the victory 12-1 in 7 innings. And that was big because with a staff that struggled like LSU has, and you're struggling to find consistency out of the bullpen, you only have to use Jump on Friday, nobody else. You have your entire bullpen at your disposal outside of him. I thought that was huge for how this weekend was ultimately going to play out. And look, we can praise Gage Jump all day long. It wasn't just Jump in game 1, though. Your bats finally came alive. And, we've talked about that a little bit going into this game that, hey, Missouri, they got some talented pitchers, but top to bottom, they're not nearly one of the better staffs you're going to see in the SEC. And LSU took advantage of that. They had 4 home runs on Friday night. So Travinsky is a 3-run homer. Then Jared Jones, a 2-run homer. Stephen Milam, Brady Neal, they have solo shots. So a complete team effort in that 12-1 win. So you're feeling good going into game 2. And then LSU struggles, rear its ugly head again. Missouri actually gets the win over LSU 8-7 on Saturday. Now, this is the Luke Holman game. Luke Holman, when he's starting in SEC play all season long, you're like, hey, if we're going to win a game, it's going to be with Luke Holman on the mound, and rightfully so. He's been excellent all year long. He's 6-3 as a starter despite this loss, but he got touched up in this game. I mean, make no bones about it. He did not have his best stuff. He went 4 2/3 innings, gave up 6 runs, 5 of them earned, 2 walks, 4 strikeouts. That's something we haven't seen from Holman. He's not giving up the big hits. He's not giving up the free passes. He did both of that on Saturday. And you dig yourself into a big hole. So I mentioned that Missouri wins the game 8-7, but you were in a 7-2 hole in this game, and LSU steadily chipped away at it. Missouri had that 8-4 lead going into the late innings. Now LSU gave it one last effort, falling just short, ultimately 8-7, which tied the series. And then you go to game 3. And if I was to tell you, oh, it's tied going into game 3, most LSU fans wouldn't have felt good about that because you performed so poorly in game 3s. And early on, it looked like that was going to be the case. Missouri's up 2-0 early in this game. You actually don't score a run until the 5th inning. Now, you tie it up in the 5th because Paxton Kling, he has a 2-run double. It's actually his 3rd double of the weekend. And then Braswell, he draws a bases-loaded walk right after that. So you're up 3-2 in the 5th inning. And then that's really when you started picking it up, right? LSU extended 4-2 in the 7th inning. It was Ashton Larson, who continues to just be so good for this team. Of all the freshmen you talked about in the fall scrimmages, Ashton Larson, he got mentioned, but he was a little bit of an afterthought. I mean, it was, we got Stephen Milam, we got all these freshman pitchers. Ashton Larson's probably been the best of this group. I mean, I get it. Milam is what he is. He's in the everyday lineup. He's super solid. But as far as putting a bat in the lineup halfway through the year to spark this team, nobody's been more important than Ashton Larson. That was his 3rd home run of the year. And again, it gives you a multi-run lead against a team that, just like you, struggles to score runs consistently. So you're up by 2 runs. You feel really good about it. Then Michael Braswell comes up. He gets an RBI double in the 8th. And a Missouri throwing error on a ground ball. It was Tommy White. It led to the 9th inning and final run for LSU. It gives them the 6-2 victory. Nate Ackenhausen got the start in game 3. He worked 4 innings, was pretty solid, and then Griffin Herring comes in. And you really needed a big game from Griffin Herring because early in the year, he was dominant out of the bullpen. You're like, look, we can start this guy. We can bring him out of the pen. Doesn't matter where. Got touched up a little bit in his last appearance, but he came back in a big way. He had 5 scoreless innings in relief, handful of strikeouts. Again, gave up no runs. He was so important to that 6-2 win. So you get the series win over Missouri 2-1. You improve to 5-13 in the SEC with 4 SEC series left. I want to kind of look at some of the biggest positives and negatives I noticed. As far as the positive, you got big-time performances from Nate Ackenhausen and Griffin Herring in game 3. If you could continue to get that, a combination of good performances in game 3, because you're not going to have that dominant game 3 starter like you thought you were coming into the year. You were like, is it going to be Jump? Is it going to be Holman? Because everybody was penciling in Thatcher Hurd as that Friday guy. Hurd has struggled mightily. He's not that guy. At least not right now. Also, you got key hits in this series. You found ways to win the game. You drove in runners, which is something that you would struggle to do up to this point. We talked about a couple of the sweeps that you had against you. Tennessee, Arkansas. There were a couple games in that series where you had the chance to win the game. You just couldn't do it. If you remember game 1 against Arkansas, it was the 4-3 game in extra innings. If you get one of those key hits, you drive in one of those runners on base, then that's completely different. And a game 1 victory against Arkansas, it could have changed the narrative of the entire series. But you didn't get those hits. You got them in this series. As far as the negatives go, I want to start with Luke Holman because I think this could actually be a negative and a positive. So the negative was Luke Holman was not very good, and you need a better performance from the guy who many people consider your ace in this rotation. But it's not all bad because going into this weekend, if I told you, hey, he's going to give up 6 runs, he's only going to go 4 2/3, and you're going to lose the game that Luke Holman starts. A lot of Tiger fans would have probably been like, well, Missouri's going to sweep us on the road. It's not the case. You win the series without your best starting pitcher and without Luke Holman having his best stuff, you still find a way to win that series. So while it was a negative because you want to see Holman a little bit better than that, it was a positive because in the past you would have gotten swept in this series. It didn't happen this weekend. Another negative is you still can't win these close games. Now I get it. Sunday was close until it wasn't, right? It really started to unravel for Missouri, but in that Saturday game, you dug yourself in such a big hole. I understand that, but you're chipping away at it. You're chipping away at it. You're chipping away at it. And then you fall again in a close one, 8-7. If you were listening to the broadcast on the LSU Sports Radio Network, they brought up an interesting stat. LSU is now 0-13 on the year when trailing by 6 runs. When trailing by at least 1 run after 6 innings. So it doesn't matter how big the deficit. If you're losing after 6 innings, LSU is 0-13 on the year. You can't have that. The SEC is way too competitive, and that's a big reason why. I mean, 0-13, they got 13 SEC losses. So that right there is a key contributor to your struggles here in conference play. But look, we'll focus on the positives. Again, they get the series win 2-1 over Missouri. They improved to 5-13 in SEC play. Now, you have 4 series left. The good news is 3 of them are at home. You play Auburn at home, A&M at home, then you got Alabama on the road, and then you wrap up SEC play with Ole Miss at home. So the thing is, you're 5-13. What is the magic number to get a bid for a regional? A lot of people have been saying 13. I don't think that's necessarily not true, but I think you got to do a little bit in the SEC tournament to feel comfortable about getting in to the NCAA tournament with only 13 regular season wins in conference play. I think the magic number is closer to 14. I think if you get that 14th win in the regular season, you're not as worried about what you do in the SEC tournament. All right, so let's kind of break it down. We'll start this weekend a 3-game series at home against Auburn. I would love for LSU to sweep this series. It would be so big for their postseason aspirations if they sweep this series. However, I can't pick them to do that because we haven't seen them show the ability to sweep anyone all year long. Now, they're not very good either, a lot like Missouri, and you have them at home. So I think if you're going to sweep a series, this Auburn one at home is the one. But let's give them 2 out of 3. That's 7 wins. Then you have Texas A&M at home. It is a home series. The box is going to be rocking. You're going to be fired up because I think you're going to win back-to-back SEC series coming in. But Texas A&M is very, very good. They're having a really good season. I actually think you lose that series, but I'll give you a win. Okay, so that's 8 wins. Then you go on the road to Alabama, who's also playing really good baseball. This is your final road series of SEC play. I'm only going to give you 1 win there as well. I mean, I can't trust this team to go on the road against a quality opponent like Alabama. It's a lot different monster than what you just played against Missouri and get a series win. So I'm going to give you 1 win there. That's 9 wins. If you get 9 wins, even if you sweep Ole Miss, I mean, the numbers just aren't there. That would only give you 12 SEC wins with a sweep of Ole Miss. That's why this series coming up against Auburn is so important. If you get that sweep, that could get you to 13, and then you upset Texas A&M or Alabama in a game, boom, you're right there where you need to be at 14. If you don't get the sweep here at home this weekend, I'm not saying that your postseason hopes are dead, but it would be very, very difficult. You would need some help. You would have to go on a little bit of run in the SEC tournament. This is a team that has shown no ability to go on a run against the SEC. You got to get a sweep here at home against Auburn. Will they do it? I don't know. I have my doubts. I think they have the ability. I think they're playing well enough now. They figured some things out this weekend. Auburn is not playing good at all, and you're at home. But you got to get a sweep here against Auburn. All right, look, that's going to kind of do it for our baseball talk for the day. Coming up in the next segment, I do want to talk a little LSU football transfer portal season, what all that entails. We're going to be joined by Jace Lejeune of Gridiron Football. That's coming up right after this here on the Hunt Palmer Show, 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
You are now listening to the Hunt Palmer Show.
ESPN Bet, ready to take you through all the huge sports moments this spring, and there are a lot of huge sports moments this spring. You know about hoops, you know baseball's fired up, you know there's golf, all of it. It's on the exclusive sportsbook of ESPN. You got exclusive offers and promotions from Scott Van Pelt, Stephen A. Smith. There is no better time to be a sports fan than the spring. If you want to place some bets, it's so easy to do. Sign up today. New users get $100 in bonus bets for making any sportsbook bet. So all you got to do is download the ESPN Bet app, put any amount of money in there. I did $5 when I did my first one. Bet it on a basketball game tonight. You do that, $100 shows up right into your account that you can use to bet at your discretion. Download ESPN Bet today. What a play. Got to be 21 or older. Got a gambling problem? Call 1-800-522-4700 in partnership with LeBares Lake Charles. Terms and conditions apply. See app for details.
In times of need, get a full list of phone numbers, websites, and other important emergency information on the Demco Stormwatch page at 1045ESPN.com.
When it comes to ending cancer, we push forward, always working together for you. That's why our cancer experts at Ochsner have clinically integrated with MD Anderson Cancer Center. This means advanced cancer care, including access to life-saving clinical trials and integrating care to treat the whole you. Introducing Ochsner MD Anderson Cancer Center. Long live you.
Bayou Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram is taking $11,000 off the new 23 Dodge Charger. We're open for business in our beautiful new showroom and taking $11,000 off the powerful new Charger. All new Bayou vehicles come with a 1 million mile warranty. The crew at Bayou Automotive is going to do right by you. Bayou Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram is taking $11,000 off the new 23 Dodge Charger. We're open for business in our beautiful new showroom and taking $11,000 off the powerful new Charger. All new Bayou vehicles come with a 1 million mile warranty. The crew at Bayou Automotive is going to do right by you.
Power up your next project with John Deere Deals by Sunshine. Whether you're working hard or playing hard, our knowledgeable team will help you find the right product for you. Ask us about our amazing tractor package promotions. Learn more about what it means to be powered by Sunshine at sunequip.com.
Jerry and Benny Payne began Central Plumbing Company out of their driveway in Tanglewood Subdivision. 50 years later and 4 generations down the road, we continue to serve Baton Rouge and the surrounding areas for all of their plumbing needs. Residential, commercial, industrial, or hospitality, Central Plumbing is here 24/7, 365.
We want to thank our customers, family, and friends for 50 years of success.
And looking forward to 50 more.
Yo, Jake here from my friends over at Community Steel Company located in Gonzales, Louisiana. The local place you can turn to for all of your metal building needs. Notice I said local, not Houston, not Dallas, not Atlanta, but right here in Gonzales. Visit them at their brand new state-of-the-art website at communitysteelco.com or pick up the phone and give them a call today to answer all of your questions on your metal buildings, roofing and sheet metal.
Matt Moscona inviting you to join us for Monday's AFR, presented by Relief Windows, recapping a massive weekend. LSU baseball at Missouri, gymnastics going for the national championship, and Pels Kings. Join us 3 to 6, 104.5 ESPN, Baton Rouge.
This is the Hunt Palmer Show, brought to you by Gulf Coast Office Products.
Welcome back into the Hunt Palmer Show. Taylor Sharp here with you, sitting in for Mr. Hunt Palmer, who's a bit under the weather today. Teased to going into break. We're going to talk some LSU football right now. I want to bring in Jace Lejeune from Gridiron Football right now. Jace, how are you?
Doing good, buddy. How's it going, Taylor?
It's going good. What was going to be a slow week has now turned into a very busy week for me because of absences of our usual host. But, it's all good. We're going to get through it. Jace, last time I talked to you, it was pre-spring game. We kind of teased, hey, who's standing out? What are your thoughts on the team? Since the spring games happened, has your thoughts on this team changed, and what was kind of your biggest takeaway?
Yeah, as far as my takes on the team from before spring and after spring, it hasn't really changed that much, Taylor. When looking at it, you pretty much expected the biggest takeaway is obviously the offense. You definitely want to see it continue to click on all cylinders, especially with a new quarterback coming in Garrett Nussmeier, a guy who's been very experienced in this offense. And you look at Joe Sloan, even though he's taken on a new role, he's been there since the beginning. With Brian Kelly, but the offense is continuing to click, and that's a positive. You really want to see that, especially when you're playing against the defense that has struggled last year, but they're also going to be playing very vanilla too in the spring game. So continuing to see that pace. One of the biggest strengths for this team is really the passing game, and that was on full display. So that was really good to see. Very disappointing to see some of the busted coverages in the secondary on the defensive side, but those are things that you could correct, and especially with Corey Raymond working with this group more and more, and really the safeties, the corners working more. So you hopefully continue to see that get worked on throughout we go to fall camp. So pretty much what I expected going in. Maybe not as much busted coverages, but still it's pretty much my thoughts on the team haven't really changed from the beginning of the spring.
You know, speaking of defense, all the talk has been about the secondary because Corey Raymond's back and they were so bad a year ago, and then the D-line because of depth. But the linebacker core has kind of been a forgotten spot.
Mm-hmm.
But what were your thoughts on that group? Because it has potential to be a really talented group.
Absolutely. In fact, Taylor, I thought that was the biggest strength of the first team unit, just seeing the first team defense go up against the first team offense. And I was really intrigued to see how Blake Baker was going to use Harold Perkins. I'm sure everybody is. But it was really good to see him, blitz a lot of times from inside linebacker. You saw he was able to recognize the swing pass coming out of the backfield to Aaron Anderson, and he pretty much really destroyed that play from the beginning. So it was really good to see Harold Perkins just kind of flying all over the place from different spots, especially at inside linebacker. So I love to see that, and I know Brian Kelly was pretty pleased with what he saw from Perkins through spring. And then obviously Whit Weeks was out there flying around, making plays. He was involved as well with the first team unit. And obviously you have a guy like Greg Penn, who's been a steady player for this football team. So really the linebacker core, just looking and comparing to, I know the secondary and the D-line has been kind of disappointing. But you look at the linebacking crew, I think that's where you can really, put your hat on. We're talking about LSU on that side of the football right now.
As far as the offense goes, you talked about the bright spot there, and they've certainly been great, whether it's Kyron Lacey, Mason Taylor, Garrett Nussmeier. We know the big names, but who do you think has the edge now post-spring game at those receiver spots outside of Kyron Lacey?
And there's a reason why they brought the two transfers coming in, and C.J. Daniels and Xavier Thomas, and obviously everybody saw it in the spring game. Xavier Thomas caught the touchdown on the busted coverage. And, LSU's going to utilize a lot with Xavier Thomas just because of his speed on jet sweeps and on screens. And they've definitely utilized that a lot through spring with a short passing game. I know Xavier's going to be a big part in that. And I really like C.J. Daniels in the slot, too. He's big. He's physical. He can make some tight contested catches. And when you saw what he can do after the catch, he reminds me a lot of really Kyron in that aspect as far as yards after the catch and his ability to break tackles in the open field. So some kind of combination of C.J. Daniels and Xavier Thomas, I think you'll see a lot of that as your third guy.
Any young guys that stood out to you?
Yeah, there are a lot. And really, I think a big storyline, if you look at the defense side of the football, was that the second team defense actually outperformed the first team defense. And this is a guy I talked to you about last time I was on the show, and it was Deshaun McBride. And Deshaun McBride had a pretty good interception when it comes to red zone, and just he looks the part. He's long, he's rangy, but he's got kind of a confident, quiet confidence about him as well that I really like. And he definitely has the ball skills. He had 9 interceptions his junior year at Denham Springs, played wide receiver, so he's got some ball skills. And with this offense and their ability to score and put a lot of points on the board, you're not asking for your defense to be the 85 Bears defense, but you want your defense to be opportunistic. And this could be a guy that's a ball hawk that can get some interceptions for you that can really help that side of the football and help this offense set up in really good situations.
All right, I want to kind of shift from post-spring, because that's in the past, to moving forward. The transfer portal is in full effect right now. Obviously, Brian Kelly said that their main focus is going to be D-line. Now, they've already offered 4 different D-line prospects. You got Philip Blitty, who earlier has actually just committed to Auburn. Then you have Dominic Williams, C.J. West, and Simeon Barrow. They're not going to get all 3 of those guys realistically, but, what do you think their goal is, to get 1 or 2?
I would say get at least 1, but I think they're eyeing 1 too, just because of the bodies right now. You look at the defensive line. Jacobian Guillory is right now, you look at it, he's the only proven defensive lineman, interior defensive lineman you really have on your roster. So if you can get Simeon and CJ or Dominic, either one, two, any combination of two of the three is going to really help this defensive line out, because you need at least four bodies really rotating when it comes to SEC play. When you go through a grueling SEC schedule, you need at least four reliable bodies right there. So if you can get at least two of them, it's going to help the situation a little bit more. But getting a guy like Simeon and CJ, and I mean, best case scenario, you get all three, because I know you said Phillip just committed to Auburn, but in any kind of situation, if you get at least two of the three, Brian Kelly talked to us a whole lot about this is the only position that they're really going after in the transfer portal. So you certainly hope they can get at least two.
Yeah, and I mean, I imagine he's going to bring these guys in to start right away.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. And you need those guys, because right now, I mean, Jalen Lee has played a little bit, but your only proven guy is Jacoby Guillory. I mean, LSU had to move guys from the offensive line to the defensive line in order to shore up depth right there. So you need at least two of these guys. And it's really good that Simeon, he's the top defensive lineman target in the portal. I mean, TJ West has played, he's a 4-year guy. Dominic Williams is an all Big 12. I will mention guys. So these are guys that have played and have been productive. So if you can get two of these guys, that's basically the offer LSU is giving them, that they can be starters in this defensive front.
Now, Kelly talked about how their primary focus is obviously defensive line, but if there was one other spot outside of D-line that you think LSU could look to kind of dip into the portal, where would that be?
I would say maybe two, just to look at. I know that Brian Kelly said that all he's really looking at is the defensive line right now. I mean, primarily the defensive tackles, because you do have a lot of options. That's one of the strengths of this defense, is the defensive ends. But besides that, the defensive tackles, I know this is going to kind of go out of the ordinary here, but maybe punter. I mean, because right now you look at it, and LSU is not really sold on their punter situation right now. So they have Bryce McPherson, who's actually another Notre Dame punter. He just entered the transfer portal. So that might be something to follow, and Bryce McPherson, get a guy that can come in and win the punter job, because right now they're not really sold at that position. And then maybe another position could be running back, just to kind of take an eye on, because right now you only have, and that's just for Trey Holly comes on board as well, you have 4 scholarship backs, and that's just Trey Holly rejoins the team. So if you're Brian Kelly, you might have to kind of look at that position as a position of need. You have Trevante Citizen available in the portal. He's a former Lake Charles Prep running back, and LSU the last couple of years, they've done a really good job of getting guys that were from Louisiana and went somewhere else and to get them come back. And Trevante Citizen could be a guy that they could look at. I know that's not their primary focus right now. Their primary focus is the defensive tackle position, but punter and running back could be something to keep an eye on.
It's funny, you said a little bit out of the ordinary, and you mentioned punter. I was actually going to ask you that next, because, Brian Kelly seemed less than pleased of Peyton Todd's performance. And then, Alabama yesterday actually just got a transfer field goal kicker, which is something that they have struggled with for years. So there are a lot of special teams players in the portal right now. And Jace, want to stick with the portal. You were talking about, guys coming in. We know about all the players that are leaving. I mean, last week it was kind of an exodus of guys, whether it was Ryan Yates, Jeremiah Hughes, Christian Braithwaite. I mean, we know the names. Not asking for a specific guy. I don't want to call anybody out here, but like if a position group, if there was a position group where if LSU got tight for numbers, could you see some guys entering that portal?
Yeah, I mean, I could see that, just because you look with that mass exodus, right? The mass exodus you just mentioned. I think at that time LSU was up to about 88 scholarship players, and with that, with all like 5 guys there in the portal from LSU, you're down to about 83, and 85 is the number to keep an eye on. But you're trying to get defensive linemen to come in here just to fully ensure that depth is there on the defensive line. But I mean, you hate to see a couple of guys leave, especially in the secondary. Especially that's a position where it's really out in the air. It's really wide open. Especially look at cornerback. I mean, Jeremiah Hughes was a guy that played a whole lot last year. Ryan Yates was a guy that played a whole lot last year, and actually made a pretty good defensive play against Ole Miss last year, coming off the edge. So it hurts to have some of those guys leave, but at the same time, some of those guys are kind of getting buried a little bit in the depth chart, And you need guys right now. Your focus is on defensive line, so you need some bodies. So something has to give there, and that's what LSU decided to do.
All right, Jace, before we get you out of here, what's the latest with Gridiron Football?
Yeah, we got a lot of things going on. Obviously, there's going to be a lot of LSU coverage this week on our website, gridironfootballusa.com. We broke down the spring. I had my 5 takeaways from the spring as a whole, and you can go to our website to see that. But we have another camp coming up. I know LSU has a big fan base in Houston and Dallas and Texas. So we actually are going to Texas for our next camp. It's going to be at Westwood High School in Palestine, Texas. So any of your viewers and listeners or have any kids or LSU fans, but if you have any kids that are playing football, and we have really good coaching coming up, a lot of really good coaches coming to coach in this camp. We have one coming up on this Saturday, April 27th. It's going to be at Westwood High School. You get a lot of really good coaching. You're going to get filmed. You can get a chance, your player gets a chance to get interviewed. So there's a whole lot of things you can take away from the camp. You have a chance. Players also get a chance to be in our magazine, too. That's a monthly magazine. So it's a lot of really good exposure. So if you have a kid, that's probably from 7th grade to about the class of 2025, so upcoming senior coming up, that wants to get some exposure and wants to get a chance to improve their game a little bit, make sure to come and join us on our camp this Saturday at Westwood High School in Palestine, Texas.
All right, that's Jace Lejeune of Gridiron Football. Jace, thank you for your time. I'm sure we'll talk soon.
I'm sure we will, Taylor. Thanks for having me on again, buddy.
Yeah, for sure. Thanks for hopping on with me. That was Jace Lejeune there of Gridiron Football, talking a little LSU, what they might do in the transfer portal. Could other guys potentially leave in some of these crowded position rooms? Honestly, I wouldn't be surprised if I saw another DB leave. Before Hughes and Ryan Yates left, you had 21 DBs on the roster, so you're still at 19 now. That's a lot of bodies for not very many scholarship spots. So we'll see what happens. We'll keep an eye on that in the coming days. We'll probably hear more news as the week goes along. All right, got to take a quick timeout. Coming back, going to wrap up hour number 1. LSU plays USC in the season opener this year in Las Vegas. USC actually had their spring game this past weekend. We'll give you some thoughts on that. That's coming up right after this here on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
You are now listening to The Hunt Palmer Show. Our listeners fire off their opinions on the jimsfirearms.net hotline at 499-1045. Keep listening for your next chance to shoot us your thoughts with the jimsfirearms.net hotline on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
There it is, the extra mile, on the border of expected and extraordinary for those willing to go further, like vans customized for work or play, with safety and tech to keep you connected. Supported by a 5-star sales, service, and finance team. And backed by the 1-star you know. So go the extra mile. It's never crowded because so few have what it takes to go there. Mercedes-Benz Vans.
Dylan Cruz here to tell you about Six Rings Baseball and Softball Camp. If you live on the North Shore and play ball, go to Six Rings Camps with former LSU assistant coach Dan Canaveri. His knowledge is second to none, and your child will improve and have fun doing it. Camps were held at Coquille Park and Six Rings Academy in Covington with 4 sessions over the summer. Full day and morning only sessions are available from ages 7 to 13. Go to sixringsbaseball.com or call 985-206-9096. Learn the game to love the game.
BRAC teamed up to reimagine your parks, and you imagined big. With your help, we went to work, creating 12 beautiful community parks across the parish. A family-sized water park, miles and miles of trails, and parks just for your dogs. There are more places to splash, to explore, to run wild, and even soar. You imagined, we delivered gold. BRAC, your #1 park system in the nation.
Electricity is all around us, and our families depend on it. Every day is sparked by the power of a cold drink or a warm meal, a movie night, and a comforting light at the end of a dark hallway. From sunrise to sunset, playtime to bedtime, our team is ready to take care of your electrical needs. Even in the case of an after-hours emergency, the light in your life shines brighter with Mr. Electric.
Hey, it's Matt Moscona. For years, you've heard me tell you about Insurance Network of Louisiana, helping you find better coverage for less money. But it's not just for your home and auto. They also offer commercial property. So, retail stores, professional offices like doctors, dentists, attorneys, clothing boutiques. Insurance Network of Louisiana can find you better coverage for less money. They service the entire state of Louisiana, and they're local. So call today at 293-0450 or lainsurance.net.
Up on Tuesday's OTB. We'll break down what's next for LSU baseball. And is there a glimmer of hope for the postseason? What do the Pelicans need to do to get it fixed for Game 2 against OKC? And new OTB mailbag. Off the bench, 7 to 10 a.m., 104.5 ESPN.
You're listening to The Hunt Palmer Show, brought to you by Gulf Coast Office Products.
Welcome back into the final segment of hour number 1 of the Hunt Palmer Show. Taylor Sharp sitting in for Mr. Hunt Palmer. I teased it going into break. USC had their spring game this past Saturday, and why that's of interest to folks in our listening area, it's because, well, your LSU Tigers take on USC in their season opener in Las Vegas on September 1st, and a lot of talk has been, hey, who's going to replace Caleb Williams, and it looks like Lincoln Riley has his guy. Now, Lincoln Riley, of course, did the typical coach speak saying, well, you know, this is still an open quarterback competition. And then he went on for the next couple of minutes to absolutely praise the performance of Miller Moss in the spring, what he did in the spring game. He said he's certainly ahead right now. There's no question about it. We're in a position right now where we don't have a clear starter, but if we played today, it would certainly be Miller Moss. So he said all that to say that Miller Moss is going to be your starting quarterback, barring something unforeseen. I think that LSU fans, go ahead and do your research now. That's probably going to be who you're facing out there in Las Vegas for the season opener. Looks like all signs are pointing to Miller Moss being that guy. Something else I want to hit on as far as quarterbacks go. News that broke about 20 minutes or so ago. Ian Rappaport, Tom Pelissero, you name it, all of them have it. Sean Payton's been busy today as the Denver Broncos have traded for Zach Wilson. They traded with the New York Jets. So former number 2 overall pick, Zach Wilson, heading out to Denver. So it includes a late round pick swap. So a 6th round pick and a 7th round pick. And New York will pay some of Wilson's roughly $5.5 million salary. So they're giving up Wilson and a 7th, and then they are getting a 6th in return for the Denver Broncos. Not something that moves the needle a ton for me, but if you go look at the Broncos QB room outside of Jarrett Stidham, I mean, you don't have a ton. So this is a guy that's going to come in and compete for a job. I mean, whether it's, I don't think it's going to be a starting role. It'll probably be more of a backup role, but you believe that all signs point to the Denver Broncos drafting a quarterback in this upcoming class. Who is that? Based on which quarterback they draft, it could be a Jarrett Stidham, Zach Wilson battle for the starting quarterback role in Denver, and that's weird to say, but look, if Sean Payton truly is the quarterback guru that everyone believes he is, if anybody can make this work, he can. Again, Zach Wilson struggled mightily in New York. He showed some flashes of his athleticism and his ability to throw the ball, but Again, not entirely his fault. He was in New York, didn't have a ton to work with. You wanted him to learn under Aaron Rodgers, but got thrown back into the fire last year after Aaron Rodgers tears his Achilles on the opening drive of the game for the New York Jets. So very much a mixed bag. Probably more bad than good so far in Zach Wilson's NFL career. But the Broncos have traded a 6th-round pick. They get Zach Wilson, a 7th round in return, and some of his $5.5 million salary will actually be paid by New York. So if you're New York, you actually gave up a lot more than you got in return for Zach Wilson. But it's a move that had to be made. You told him he could seek a trade. You know he wasn't happy there. What's the relationship between him and Aaron Rodgers like? I don't know, but you're paying him a lot of money to sit on the bench next year with Rodgers appearing to return as the team's starting quarterback coming up in 2024. All right, look, that's going to do it for our number 1 of the Hunt Palmer Show. We hit on a lot of different topics. We opened up the show talking about LSU Gymnastics winning their first national championship. We talked a little LSU baseball and some LSU football. We got a lot more coming up for you here in our number 2 of the Hunt Palmer Show. We'll dive into some Saints and some more of the NFL draft. That's coming up right after this break here on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Gulf Coast Bank and Trust is giving our customers the power to bank anywhere, anytime during this challenging event. And we're right there with you. Our mobile banking app is a smart way to manage your money and time. Gulf Coast Bank and Trust, the bank that cares about you.
Bayou Ford has $10,000 off F-150s, $10,000 off the new F-150 truck, plus 1.9% for 72 months. And all new Bayou Ford vehicles come with a 1 million mile warranty. The crew at Bayou Ford is going to do right by you.
There it is, the extra mile, on the border of expected and extraordinary for those willing to go further, like vans customized for work or play, with safety and tech to keep you connected, supported by a 5-star sales, service, and finance team, and backed by the 1-star you know. So go the extra mile. It's never crowded, because so few have what it takes to go there. Mercedes-Benz Vans.
I've been doing business with Luba for 25 years. They're dependable, trustworthy. It's just the attention to detail with our clients.
Our folks have years and years of experience. They're highly trained professionals, but many companies have that asset. What I'd like to think makes Luba a bit different is that we use those talents in a way that truly is dedicated to serving the needs of the folks who depend on us.
Power up your next project with John Deere Deals by Sunshine. Whether you're working hard or playing hard, our knowledgeable team will help you find the right product for you. Ask us about our amazing tractor package promotions. Learn more about what it means to be powered by sunshine at sunequip.com.
Jerry and Benny Payne began Central Plumbing Company out of their driveway in Tanglewood subdivision. 50 years later and 4 generations down the road, we continue to serve Baton Rouge and the surrounding areas for all of their plumbing needs. Residential, commercial, industrial, or hospitality, Central Plumbing is here 24/7, 365.
We want to thank our customers, family, and friends for 50 years of success.
And looking forward to 50 more.
Yo, Jake here from my friends over at Community Steel Company located in Gonzales, Louisiana. The local place you can turn to for all of your metal building needs. Notice I said local, not Houston, not Dallas, not Atlanta, but right here in Gonzales. Visit them at their brand new state-of-the-art website at communitysteelco.com or pick up the phone and give them a call today to answer all of your questions on your metal buildings, roofing and sheet metal, and any other steel needs you or your business need at 225-647-2020.
Dylan Cruz here to tell you about Six Rings Baseball and Softball Camp. If you live on the North Shore and play ball, go to Six Rings Camps with former LSU assistant coach Dan Canaveri. His knowledge is second to none, and your child will improve and have fun doing it. Camps are held at Coquille Park and Six Rings Academy in Covington with 4 sessions over the summer. Full day and morning only sessions are available from ages 7 to 13. Go to sixringsbaseball.com or call 985-206-9096. Learn the game to love the game.
Sports Center.
I'm Christine Lisi. This just in, the Jets trading former second overall pick, quarterback Zach Wilson, and a 7th-round pick to the Broncos for a 6th-rounder. New York expected to pay some of his salary in 2024. 76ers center Joel Embiid remains questionable for Game 2 tonight in the first-round NBA playoff series against the Knicks. Embiid appeared to injure his surgically repaired left knee on a dunk in the Game 1 loss. It will be difficult for Philly to tie up the series at a game apiece tonight, in the opinion of ESPN NBA analyst Kendrick Perkins.
Joel Embiid is not healthy. No, right? He don't have lift. That was the first dunk that he had since returning from injury, and we saw what happened. He's going to favor it. It's going to be a mental thing. I see the Knicks coming out and doing what they supposed to do, led by Big Body Brunson, and winning this game tonight in great fashion.
Sixers point guard Tyrese Maxey questionable due to illness. Game 2, 7 Eastern on ESPN Radio. Stanley Cup playoffs opening round. Maple Leafs forward William Nylander, undisclosed injury. A game-time decision. Game 2 tonight in Boston, 7 Eastern on ESPN. Toronto down 1-0.
Feeling great starts with a great shave, and great shaves start with Barbasol Shaving Cream. That's Barbasol Shaving Cream, an American classic for over 100 years. Close Shave America, Close Shave Barbasol.
Ladies and gentlemen, may I direct your attention to something quite extraordinary?
Now, the Hunt Palmer Show. The Hunt Palmer Show on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge. Live from the Mercedes-Benz of Baton Rouge studios. This is Hunt Palmer.
Welcome into hour number 2 of the Hunt Palmer Show. Not Hunt Palmer. Taylor Sharp sitting in for Hunt Palmer for the next 60 minutes or so. Hunt a little bit under the weather today. By all accounts, he should be back in this chair tomorrow afternoon. Want to recap kind of what we did in hour number 1 here. Led off the show talking LSU Gymnastics as they claim the first ever national championship in the program's 53-year history. We recapped LSU baseball. They finally got an SEC series win. That happened over the weekend. They take down the Missouri Tigers 2-1 to improve to 5-13 in SEC play. Then we talked a little LSU football, kind of a post-spring feel for the team. Where do people stand? Who could enter the transfer portal? Which portal targets could LSU bring in? And then we wrapped it up mentioning that, and you just heard it there in SportsCenter as well, the Denver Broncos have traded for quarterback Zach Wilson. They give up a 6th-round pick. They get back Wilson, a 7th, and part of his contract's going to be paid there as well. So not a bad deal for the Denver Broncos. I want to start this hour talking some New Orleans Pelicans because a lot has happened since we got off the airwaves on Friday. They had their play-in game against the Sacramento Kings, and a lot of Pelicans fans, myself included, were a little bit worried about this game. Obviously, you're a bad matchup for the Kings, and it showed because you get that win. You win 105-98 in a game that was close early, but New Orleans exploded in the second quarter. They scored 32 points. They outscored Sacramento by 11 in that second quarter, and the lead kind of remained pretty steady after that. You tied. You both scored 29 in the third quarter, and then the fourth was really tight as well. So after you were able to build that big lead at halftime, we kind of steadied the ship a little bit, kind of maintained that lead. Never really had a threat from them, at least not a big one, in the second half. This was such a big game for the Pelicans, and it really showed just how bad of a matchup they are for the Sacramento Kings. They are now 6-0 against the Sacramento Kings this season against a good basketball team. I mean, this is a 46-win Sacramento Kings team. They're young, they're fast, but the length of the Pelicans has really been a problem for the Kings all year long, and it showed up once again. When we were here last Wednesday filling in for Hunt, what did we talk about? hey, one of your big players has to step up. And it happened. 2 of your big players actually stepped up. Brandon Ingram shot 50% from the court. He hit a 3. He had 24 points, 5 rebounds, 6 assists. That was the most important part of his game, I thought. Talked about it some leading up to that game that, hey, Point Zion, if you will, is out of this game. He's so important to this team because he drives the lane. Opponents crash in on him, and he's able to dish it out to his teammates. Brandon Ingram took on that role, and he played well. 6 assists, and he played exactly how Zion had been playing. And your shooters feed off of that on this basketball team. Also, Jonas Valanciunas was huge in that game on Friday. Now, he had 19 points, 12 rebounds. Get this. Beck, me and you were talking about this during the break. 27 minutes. I know it's a weird thing in basketball and all the professional sports, but when you play your good players and you put them in a lot of minutes, good things will happen. We talked about the stat. They were 6-6 coming into that play-in game. In 4 of the 6 losses, Valanciunas played less than 20 minutes. In 4 out of 6 of the wins, he played more than 20 minutes. He's a key piece to this team. Whether it's his rebounding, it's his defense, it's his scoring in the post. Especially without Zion, one of your post presence is gone. Valanciunas becomes that much more important, and he was big in that play-in game. De'Aaron Fox got his. I mean, you knew that was going to happen. He goes 12 of 29, hits 4 threes, 35 points, including 7 of 11 from the free throw line. He's one of the fastest players in the NBA. He knows how to attack the rim. He knows how to get to the free throw line. He got 35. He's going to get his. He's too good of a player not to. Sabonis had 23, but outside of those 2 guys, you did a really good job. You limited them to just 12 points off of their bench. LSU limited him scoreless. He was 0 for 5. You contained Keegan Murray. He was only 4 for 12, just 11 points. He's been a really good role player for him. Harrison Barnes was solid, 17 points, but just 5 rebounds, 4 assists. So that was kind of the game plan going in, right? We're not going to worry about De'Aaron Fox as much. We don't have anybody that can cover him. We know how good and athletic he is. We're going to shut down everyone else around him. They did exactly that, and now they are in the NBA playoffs. Which brings us to game number 2. Was the game yesterday. It was the first round series. The 1 seed Oklahoma City Thunder against your 8 seed New Orleans Pelicans. And you lose this game in heartbreaking fashion. You had an opportunity to win this game. Oklahoma City takes this game 94-92. CJ McCollum has a shot up in the air at the end. Looked like it was going to go in. Couldn't get it to fall. You drop game 1. However, I think there was a lot to like from the Pelicans. I've heard a lot of people say, well, I would rather get blown out in game 1 than lose a tough one like this. Not me. I mean, this was a game on the road against the number 1 seed. You knew it was going to be an uphill battle, and you fought. You clawed your way into that game, and it was tied going into halftime. You played really well all game long. It was a defensive struggle. I mean, how many times have we seen an NBA game where neither team in the playoffs has scored 100 points? Hadn't happened a lot in recent years. And Brandon Ingram had an off game. 5 of 17, 12 points, 5 rebounds, 3 assists. So your best player had an off game, and you take the number 1 seed down to the wire on the road. I feel good about where the Pelicans are because the longer this series goes, the better there is a chance that you could get Zion Williamson back down the road. And again, Valanciunas, over 20 minutes. What did he do? 13 points, 20 rebounds. He's a key piece of this team. He has to play more than 20 minutes. We have a large enough sample size to know that it's not just an outlier. That is a trend, and it is a trend that you have to follow. He has to play more than 20 minutes. With Zion out, he is key to this team's success down low. Trey Murphy had a good game. 5 of 12 from 3, 21 points. CJ McCollum, he struggled shooting. He was 9 of 22, just 2 for 9 from 3, but he made the shots when he needed to. Except that last one, obviously. 20 points, 6 assists, 3 rebounds, only 3 turnovers, so a 2-to-1 assist-to-turnover ratio. I love that from CJ McCollum. Your bench, they are what they are at this point. I mean, Jose Alvarado played some good defense, had 5 points. Najee Marshall with 5. Larry Nance gave you 8 and 8 off the bench. Your bench is what it is. But again, your best player had an off game. You go on the road against the number 1 seed, and you throw up a shot at the end of the game that if it falls, you upset them in game 1. You got to like where they're at. Beck, I know you were a big Pelicans fan. What were your thoughts on this game 1 against the Thunder? Like, how do you think the series is going to go?
I think it was really encouraging just to see how well they played on the road in a really tough environment. The Thunder haven't hosted a playoff game in a long time. That was an electric environment there, and they showed up when they needed to, and the game was close the whole way around. But the reason I'm encouraged is one, the Pelicans did not shoot the ball well at all from 3. They were 11 for 39, 28%. They were less than 40% from the field as well. And they played pretty well on defense. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, it's kind of like the way they handled De'Aaron Fox. You can't really stop him. He's going to get at least 25 to 30 a game. You've got to limit the other guys, and they did pretty well in that regard as well. This was a tie game, as you said, and I didn't love the final possession for the Pelicans that CJ McCollum gets the ball and just kind of dribbles around for 10 seconds. Almost lost the ball there, and that kind of messed up his rhythm there, I think, and ends up shooting a runner 3-pointer and almost made it, but not a great possession. But overall, I really like what the way they played. The problem is without Zion, you have to get more from your role players, and not to say Herb Jones is a role player, but if you look at Herb Jones, Najee Marshall, and Jose Alvarado, they combined for 4 of 16 from 3. You've just got to get more from those. And Najee and Jose Alvarado were 2 for 8 from 3. So you've got to get more from those guys, and if you can, you can win this game very easily. So I feel really good about the series, and look, if they can push this to 6 or 7 games, the Pelicans said that they were going to reevaluate Zion in 2 weeks, which was last week. So there is a very outside chance that possibly you could get him back for maybe a game 6 or 7. So I really like the way they played. I think the Pelicans have a great chance to push the series to 6 or 7 games.
Yeah, no, I mean, you got to feel good about where you're at if you're the Pelicans after that game 1. Again, you are shorthanded. Your star didn't have his best game, and you were still right there at the end. I like what you said about CJ McCollum taking that last shot. It was kind of an off-balance shot. Now, again, he's one of your veteran players, right? He's your team leader out there. He's your point guard, if you will, even though that's not his natural position. So you're like, well, put the ball in his hands. Guys, I got to be honest with you. I'm putting the ball in Trey Murphy's hands moving forward. Yeah. He is absolutely knocked down. He has been your best 3-point shooter since Brandon Ingram went down with that injury about a month and a half ago. He shows very little emotion out there on the court. He's always even keel. I mean, he's ice cold out there at times as far as, that stone-faced expression he has on. He's cool under pressure. He's young. He's athletic. That's the guy I'm going to. And I think they need to get him more involved in their fast break as well, because that's really where this game was decided. You look at everything else. Neither team shot great from 3. OKC's 31%. You're at 28%. You actually outshoot them from the free throw line, 77 to 76%. Rebounds, Pelicans actually have the advantage in that category. And then they have a few more defensive rebounds than you. Steals 7 to 5, blocks 6 to 7, total turnovers 14 to 13. So it's even across the board. Here's where they had their big advantage. Back earlier, you were talking about Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, how quick he is, how dynamic he is. It showed. Without Zion likes to run the floor. You got to get your younger players involved, because Oklahoma City had 20 fast break points. You had 7. And that's a 13-point difference right there in a 2-point ball game. You get 1 or 2 more possessions where you could run the floor with this team, it's a completely different ballgame. That's something you're going to have to do. You're so good at it when Zion's on the court. Now that he's off the court, who are you putting the ball? Whose hands are you putting the ball in? I think it's Trey Murphy. I think he's big enough. I think he's athletic enough. I think he's a good enough shooter. He's quick enough on the court. That's the guy that you have to run your offense through in transition, going from defense to offense. I think Trey Murphy is the key. If you can do that, then you're right here. You have a puncher's chance in this series. Because Oklahoma City's been good this year, but they're not unbeatable, guys. I get it. They're the 1 seed, but
it's clear they're not. It's clear that they are beatable just by watching that game.
Well, if you remember, a lot of people are like, hey, I'd rather the Pelicans lose the first game and play the Thunder and avoid the Nuggets. Now, I always thought that was silly at the time, but yeah, and you mentioned it. They hadn't hosted a playoff series in a while. This is a really young team. You got Gilgeous-Alexander, you got Jalen Williams, you got Chet Holmgren. None of these guys have a ton of postseason experience. The entire Nuggets team do, because they ran a freaking gauntlet last year to get to the NBA Finals. It's completely different with the Thunder. This team's young, and you're like, well, the Pelicans don't have a ton of playoff experience. Neither do the Thunder. And look, you looked good on the road, and you've played well on the road all year long. You even this series up in a couple days when you play game 2. Again, the longer this series goes, the better there is a chance of you getting Zion Williamson back. I think you're right there. I think you could maybe pull this upset. Now, are they going to? I don't know. It's going to be an uphill battle for them for sure. They're already in a 1-0 hole, but this is going to be a series. I mean, this is not going to be one of those quick series. They had no business being in there. The Pelicans came to play, and the Thunder better watch out. All right, look, we're going to take a timeout. When we get back, we're going to shift our focus to the New Orleans Saints. The Saints Wire put out a worst-case scenario for the Saints during the first round of the NFL draft. We'll kind of break that down. I'll give you my actual nightmare scenario for the Saints in the first round. That's coming up right after this on the Hunt Palmer Show, 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
You are now listening to the Hunt Palmer Show.
Boudreaux's Electrical Services. Boudreaux's Electric. Certified Generac generator dealer. Premier Generac generator dealer. I can promise you this when you contact the folks at Boudreaux's. It's going to be an incredibly efficient process. They're going to send out an employee. They're going to survey your home, figure out what you need, and they're going to get you into the right generator because not all generators are created exactly equally. Depends on your square footage, what you want powered if the power fails. Some folks want the whole house roaring. You can get that done. Some folks, just keep it cool, make sure the AC is running. I might like a TV too. That's fine too. They can do it for you. But you got to know what you want, and then they'll have a full-time Boudreaux's Electric employee come out to install the generator using the highest quality in piping and wiring, and they're going to do most of that installation underground so that it's aesthetically pleasing and functional when the power goes out down here in South Louisiana. Give them a call at 985-397-1562. 985-397-1562. That's my friends at Boudreaux's Electric.
In times of need, get a full list of phone numbers, websites, and other important emergency information on the Demco Stormwatch page at 1045ESPN.com.
The Windsor Senior Living Community in Mandeville, Louisiana is a beautiful, vibrant apartment community geared towards seniors. They are nestled right in the heart of Mandeville, where seniors live a more carefree lifestyle in spacious apartments with the peace of mind that comes from having a little extra help. Call the Windsor at 985-624-8040 to schedule a lunch and tour. Come see how the Windsor can be your passport to peace of mind.
BRAC teamed up to reimagine your parks, and you imagined big. With your help, we went to work, creating 12 beautiful community parks across the parish. A family-sized water park, miles and miles of trails, and parks just for your dogs. There are more places to splash, to explore, to run wild, and even soar. You imagined, we delivered. Gold. BRAC, your #1 park system in the nation.
Electricity is all around us, and our families depend on it. Every day is sparked by the power of a cold drink or a warm meal, a movie night, and a comforting light at the end of a dark hallway. From sunrise to sunset, playtime to bedtime, our team is ready to take care of your electrical. The light in your life shines brighter with Mr. Electric.
Hey, it's Matt Moscona. For years, you've heard me tell you about Insurance Network of Louisiana, helping you find better coverage for less money. But it's not just for your home and auto. They also offer commercial property. So, retail stores, professional offices like doctors, dentists, attorneys, clothing boutiques. Insurance Network of Louisiana can find you better coverage for less money. They service the entire state of Louisiana, and they're local. So call today at 293-0450 or lainsurance.net.
There it is, the extra mile, on the border of expected and extraordinary for those willing to go further, like vans customized for work or play, with safety and tech to keep you connected, supported by a 5-star sales, service, and finance team, and backed by the 1-star you know. So go the extra mile. It's never crowded, because so few have what it takes to go there. Mercedes-Benz Vans.
I've been doing business with Luba for 25 years. They're dependable.
Charles Hangrove join us for the Tuesday edition of Live at Lunch from Doe's Eat Place on Government Street in Mid-City. We're a couple of days away from the NFL draft, and Andy Isco joins us from Las Vegas. Live at Lunch, 11 a.m. Tuesday on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
While you're busy with spring cleaning, we'd like to add to the clutter in your bank account to the tune of $2,000. It's the 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge Spring Cha-Ching, powered by Citizens Bank and Trust. Register today at 1045ESPN.com.
This is the Hunt Palmer Show, brought to you by Gulf Coast Office Products.
Welcome back into the Hunt Palmer Show. Taylor Sharp here with you, sitting in for Mr. Hunt Palmer, who is a little bit under the weather today. Beck, you read that promo. Your guarantee employee is eligible for that.
I don't think so, unfortunately.
We never are.
We're never eligible for anything.
It's not fair. That's bad news for us. And speaking of bad news, Saints Wire, they put out an article talking about the worst case scenario for the New Orleans Saints. They quoted Bleacher Report's Brad Gagnon. He put out the worst case scenario for every single team. And for the Saints, he said, look, while they're on the board and at the number 14 spot, Joe Alt, Olu Fashanu, J.C. Latham, Fatanu, and Talise Fuaga are all gone when the Saints pick. The top 5 offensive tackles are all gone by number 14. Said now the Saints have other needs they can fill, and there's quality players there at 14, whether it's a big-time wide receiver that you can pair next to Chris Olave or someone on the defensive line. But nothing's going to help the Saints quite like an offensive tackle. While I agree, he admits this in his article, saying, look, I think this is very unlikely, but it's not impossible. I think it's extremely unlikely. I don't think there's any way that all of those players go before 14. I think you're going to have your pick of about 2 guys. We'll see. You're going to at least get one. I am confident in saying that. I wanted to lay out an actual worst case scenario for the New Orleans Saints, because we've seen all the mock drafts, right? And there's been so many trade talks. Now, the main candidates in the top 5 that they've talked about, hey, we're willing to trade. What's your best offer? Is the New England Patriots at 3 and the LA Chargers at 5. Now, either one of these could be bad news for the Saints. But let's focus on the Chargers, because the Chargers' needs in this draft are very similar to your needs. What are your 2 biggest needs? It's offensive line and it's a wide receiver. Pretty much across the board, you've been mocked an O-lineman in round 1 and a wide receiver in round 2. For the Chargers, they need an offensive lineman to protect Justin Herbert, and they need a wide receiver because they lost pretty much all of them. Keenan Allen, yeah, he's going to be catching passes for Caleb Williams in Chicago next year. Mike Williams, nope. Austin Eckler out of the backfield, nope, not there either. They need pass catchers in a big way. So what teams would trade up with the LA Chargers? Obviously, if you're trading up, you need a quarterback, which is why the Chargers are in such a great spot. They're probably in the best spot of anybody in the draft because they have that top 5 pick, and they're the only team in the top 5 that you know for certain is not taking a quarterback. Now, no quarterbacks have been mocked to Arizona, but I wouldn't completely rule it out. I mean, I certainly don't think Kyler Murray's the answer. Maybe they want to give him another year, but you know that they have their franchise guy in Justin Herbert out there in LA. So that's the one team in the top 5 you know is not taking a quarterback. These teams that are hungry for a quarterback, they're going to want to trade up, and they're going to say, hey, Chargers, that's our most likely trade partner because they don't need a QB. Obviously, the Vikings is the team we've been talking about the most. They're at 11. They really want one of the top 3 guys. The problem is, if you trade up with the Chargers, you're still at number 5. You would have to trade with the Patriots, which could happen, but I don't think that impacts the Saints as much. Also, the Vikings are already ahead of you in this draft, and they're not taking anything other than a quarterback. I think they could potentially stay put at 11 and still have J.J. McCarthy. But if they trade it up, you know what you're getting. And I mean, that would give the Chargers 2 first-round picks because the Vikings have 11 and 23. Now, it sucks for the Saints because Chargers are ahead of you, but they were already ahead of you. Not that big of a deal. Now, if the Raiders at 13 trade with the Chargers, I think this is worst case scenario for the New Orleans Saints. Talked about it just a second ago. Their needs are the same as your needs. Offensive line and wide receiver. If they trade with the Raiders sit at 13. I imagine in order to get that 5th pick, the Raiders would have to give up their 2nd round pick as well. Where are the Raiders in the 2nd round? They are once again right before the Saints at 44. So if the Raiders jump up into the top 5 to get that QB of the future that they've been wanting, they would give the Chargers 13 and they would give the Chargers 44. If you're the Saints, you're at 14 and at 45. So what has been the most likely position mocked to the Chargers outside of Malik Neighbors? It's offensive tackle. You'll take an offensive tackle at 13. That's one less option for the Saints there in the 1st round. In the 2nd round, you're sitting there at 45. What do you need? A wide receiver. What did the Chargers take at 44? A wide receiver. They have the same need as you, and they're 1 pick ahead of you in the 1st and 2nd round. That's bad news. Because not only may you not get the player that you're really after because the Chargers could steal him from you, now you're really questioning whether or not you need to trade up. You need to trade up because now you got to get back ahead of the Chargers. Because you can't be behind them 2 rounds in a row when they have the exact same needs you do. Do the Saints trade with the Chargers straight up? We've seen that Trevor Penning's been on the trade block for a while. Teams have talked to, a lot of insiders have said, hey, this is a guy that could be on the trade block for the Saints. He could be a piece that they could deal on draft day. The issue that the Saints are running into, you don't have a 3rd or a 4th round pick. After 45, you have 4 5th round picks. Now, can you trade those 5th round picks? Sure you can. You can trade all 3 of those 5th round picks, keep one of them. I don't see how you'd move up further than middle of the 4th round. I don't think that gets you a 3rd round pick. I think you'd have to throw a player in there. So yes, in a world where all of these offensive tackles are taken before the Saints get there, that's bad news, but the Saints could still always take a receiver there in the 1st round and then regroup there in the 2nd. There would be quality offensive linemen left. I mean, is it anybody that you think is going to be a plug-and-play day 1 starter? No, but you're just going to have to get what you get at that point. Now, the Chargers trade and they are ahead of you in the 1st and 2nd round, I think that's trouble. I think that is a nightmare scenario for the New Orleans Saints. And I don't want to freak anybody out here, but I don't think it's incredibly unlikely either. I think all those tackles being gone before you're picking is unlikely. I don't think this is unlikely at all. We've heard about the Jaden Daniels rumors that are going around lately, which we'll get into in the next segment. And we know that Antonio Pierce absolutely loves Jaden Daniels going back to his time at Arizona State. Whether it's 5 or it's 3, the Raiders are looking to trade up in this draft. The Raiders and the Vikings, I think, are the most likely teams to trade up in the 1st round. If the Chargers trade to either one of them, it's tough. Because now you're hoping that the guy falls to you or that he's available, but now you also got to find a way to get back over the Chargers so that they don't take your guy. It's a tough spot to be in. All right, look, we're going to take a quick timeout. When we get back on the other side of this break, we're going to hit some NFL news. We're going to talk about Jaden Daniels. There's a lot of smoke about him potentially not wanting to play for the Washington Commanders. We'll get into that when we get back here on the Hunt Palmer Show, 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
You are now listening to the Hunt Palmer Show.
Doesn't matter what game I watch. Whichever one I decide is going to go on the TV that was mounted by Audio Video Security Solutions, and it will have surround sound coming from the ceiling because of the folks at Audio Video Security Solutions. And I don't even have to get up off the couch to set the alarm for the night if the games go late, because I've got the app and I'll just pull it up and set the alarm for the house because of Audio Video Security Solutions. Check them out online, avssla.com. Our guy Mitchell Fisher, such a great company. They've got such a wealth of knowledge. There are so many of us who don't even know where to start with surround sound and with security systems and where to place cameras and how many you need and whether or not your windows have sensors and all those types of things he can handle for you. He did it for us. He can do it for you. Give him a call. This is his cell phone, 225-439-7920, 225-439-7920. It's Audio Video Security Solutions at avssla.com.
Our listeners fire off their opinions on the jimsfirearms.net hotline at 499-1045. Keep listening for your next chance to shoot us your thoughts with the jimsfirearms.net hotline on 1045 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Jerry and Benny Payne began Central Plumbing Company out of their driveway in Tanglewood subdivision. 50 years later and 4 generations down the road, we continue to serve Baton Rouge and the surrounding areas for all of their plumbing needs. Residential, commercial, industrial, or hospitality, Central Plumbing is here 24/7, 365.
We want to thank our customers, family, and friends for 50 years of success.
And looking forward to 50 more.
Yo, Jake here from my friends over at Community Steel Company located in Gonzales, Louisiana. The local place you can turn to for all of your metal building needs. Notice I said local, not Houston, not Dallas, not Atlanta, but right here in Gonzales. Visit them at their brand new state-of-the-art website at communitysteelco.com or pick up the phone and give them a call today to answer all of your questions on your metal buildings, roofing and sheet metal, and any other steel needs you or your business need at 225-647-2020.
Dylan Cruz here to tell you about Six Rings Baseball and Softball Camp. If you live on the North Shore and play ball, go to Six Rings Camps with former LSU assistant coach Dan Canaveri. His knowledge is second to none, and your child will improve and have fun doing it. Camps were held at Coquille Park and Six Rings Academy in Covington with 4 sessions over the summer. Full day and morning only sessions are available from ages 7 to 13. Go to sixringsbaseball.com or call 985-206-9096. Learn the game to love the game.
Breck teamed up to reimagine your parks, and you imagined big. With your help, we went to work, creating 12 beautiful community parks across the parish. A family-sized water park, miles and miles of trails, and parks just for your dogs. There are more places to splash, to explore, to run wild, and even soar. You imagined, we delivered gold. Breck, your #1 park system in the nation.
Electricity is all around us, and our families depend on it. Every day is sparked by the power of a cold drink or a warm meal, a movie night, and a comforting light at the end of a dark hallway. From sunrise to sunset, playtime to bedtime, our team is ready to take care of your electrical needs, even in the case of an after-hours emergency.
Matt Moscona inviting you to join us for Monday's AFR, presented by Relief Windows, recapping a massive weekend. LSU baseball at Missouri, gymnastics going for the national championship, and Pels Kings. Join us 3 to 6, 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
You're listening to The Hunt Palmer Show, brought to you by Gulf Coast Office Products.
Welcome back into The Hunt Palmer Show. Taylor Sharp here with you for another half hour or so. I teased it going into our break. You saw it last week that the Washington Commanders hosted all 4 of their potential quarterback draftees at the same time. So it was Jaden Daniels, Drake May, J.J. McCarthy, and Michael Penix Jr. Well, apparently not everyone was happy about it, and a report has come out now that Jaden Daniels may not want to go and play for the Washington Commanders. Also, it is of note that Jaden's agent has retweeted negative stuff about the Commanders, about how they've been doing business and everything, so it's not without a little bit of legs. And even Jeremy Fowler was asked about it on Saturday on a SportsCenter draft special, and he said, look, there is a little bit of smoke there. He said, I talked with people in the Commanders and other teams. They believe Daniels is still the favorite at number 2. Nothing is set in stone, but somebody close with Jaden Daniels believes that he is at least openly wondering about his other options. And for what it's worth, they did 3 different mock drafts on ESPN over the weekend. 2 of the 3 have now had Drake May as the number 2 selection over Jaden Daniels. So this rumor here, it seems like it has a little bit of legs to it. And, a lot of people kind of raised their eyebrows last week when the Commanders brought in all 4 of their quarterback candidates at the same time. You're like, why would you do that? Do you want to see how others react? Now, this is not a shot at Jaden Daniels, but I kind of think the Commanders got their answer to who would react poorly to this. It's clearly Jaden and his agent. I mean, we haven't heard anything from May, McCarthy, or Penix about it, but I get it. It's sometimes things happen. You feel some type of way about it. So there's been a lot of trade speculation. Would a team trade up in place of the Commanders? The problem is Washington's not trading out of that number 2 spot. Now, they may take Drake May over Jaden Daniels. They're not trading out of that number 2 spot. Jaden's best hope is that he falls to 3. And I've seen a lot of people say, well, yeah, I wouldn't want to go to Washington either. It's an awful situation. And I get it, but I feel like a lot of people are saying that just because of what Washington's always been, right? With Snyder as the owner, with their turnstile of head coaches that they've gone through, it's been a poor franchise. You have a new owner, and also the Commanders are a lot better situation than the New England Patriots. You're living in the past on all those Super Bowl wins that the Patriots have. Another one's not coming anytime soon, at least not to my knowledge. Because who do the Commanders have? They upgraded a little bit this offseason. They bring in a couple tight ends to get the passing game going. They have Terry McLaurin. They got solid second and third options behind him. You upgrade at running back. You bring in Austin Eckler, who's one of the best pass-catching backs in the league. Your O-line is decent. It's below average, but the Patriots' O-line's nothing to write home about either. Who's the Patriots' number 1 receiver? Juju Smith-Schuster? Kendrick Bourne? I mean, you got some solid tight ends over there, but outside of that, I think the Commanders is a better landing spot for Jaden. I get it. He may feel some type of way about having to go in there with 3 other guys, but look, different teams do business different ways. It's part of being drafted in the NFL. I would much rather go to the Washington Commanders than the New England Patriots because I think it's a lot better scenario. Now, that's led to a lot of people say, well, where's the best fit for Jaden Daniels? And Beck, I'm going to get your opinion on this in a minute. Of all the teams that could trade up, who are the 3 that are sitting there? It's honestly at 11, 12, and 13. The Vikings, the Broncos, and the Raiders. They all 3 need a quarterback, and typically if you're trading up into the top 5, it's to get that quarterback. I would love Jaden Daniels at the Minnesota Vikings outside of the obvious reason. Obviously, Justin Jefferson's there. He's the best receiver in the NFL, and LSU fans can watch. You have an LSU connection there as well. But look, McConnell's an offensive-minded head coach. I think he did a really good job last year, despite Kirk Cousins getting hurt, of kind of weathering that storm as good as he could. They're going to have a good running game. They always do. Their defense is solid. I think that's a really good spot for him to land. What about the Raiders, though? Antonio Pierce loves Jaden Daniels. It's going back to his time together at Arizona State. And Jeremy Fowler says that the Raiders are one of the teams that Jaden Daniels would really enjoy playing for. But what about the Denver Broncos? I think he could fit really well in Sean Payton's system. I think Jaden, inside the pocket, outside the pocket, has shown the accuracy needed to play in Payton's offense. And even though Jaden was great at deep balls, he's not even going to need to do that in Payton's offense, at least not a ton. That's not what Sean Payton's offense is. And with his ability to run in that scheme under Sean Payton, I mean, sounds good to me. So, Beck, I guess I'll ask you, if you wanted a team to, as an LSU fan only, if you wanted a team to trade up and say, I want Jaden to go there because he's going to have success, where would it be?
Well, it's like you said for the Vikings, it's not just because of Justin Jefferson, but the Vikings have a lot of weapons on offense, I think, and their offensive line is solid. Kirk Cousins has played well there for years. The offense always plays well. The question will be the defense, of course, which Jaden has no effect over, but I do think that that the defense is going to improve. They just signed Jonathan Grenard from the Texans, had a double-digit sack year. So the defense hopefully will improve for them. But the offense has just got a lot of weapons. TJ Hawkinson's one of the best tight ends in the league. Jordan Addison is a great number 2. And Aaron Jones is one of the best running backs in the league too. So I think Jaden Daniels with the Vikings, I think that they could grow into becoming a playoff team. Maybe not this year, but probably next year.
I mean, that has to be the answer, right? It
Yeah.
has to be the Minnesota Vikings for everything that we just talked about. You have Jordan Addison, who's one of the best number 2 receivers in the NFL. You have the best wide receiver in the NFL for my money in Justin Jefferson. TJ Hawkinson, probably a top 5 tight end in the NFL. What was their offense missing last year? Because we talked about it. McConnell did a good job under the circumstances. What were they missing? They were missing a running game. You got rid of Dalvin Cook because he was getting injured. He was getting a little bit older. You thought Alexander Madison could be that guy because he was really good in spot starts. It didn't work out. For whatever reason, it did not work out with Alexander Madison. And Kirk Cousins was never a threat to run. And then outside of that, his replacements, they didn't really run that much either. Now you bring in a quarterback who is not one of the best. He is the best running quarterback in this draft by a wide margin. I couldn't even tell you who's second. I mean, Jaden has a special ability to run the football. It's something you don't see a lot of. And you bring in Aaron Jones, like Beck just mentioned, one of the best running backs in the NFL. So you've upgraded at running back, and now your quarterback can get going. With that running game and Jaden's ability to throw the ball downfield that he proved last season at LSU, with a Justin Jefferson, with a Jordan Addison, 2 big, speedy receivers that can take the tops off of defenses, and his check down route to TJ Hawkinson, we saw the connection that he and Mason Taylor had, at least Taylor's freshman year. I think that is a perfect fit for Jaden Daniels. As far as the Raiders go, I don't hate it because what do you look for with a rookie quarterback? You need a big-time receiver to take some of the pressure off of him. Devontae Adams fits that mold. There's no question about it. The bigger thing is, what are they going to do with their running game? They no longer have Josh Jacobs. Now, Zamir White's there. He's a solid back, and this is a pretty deep running back class. They can grab somebody in the mid to late rounds and be fine there. Their offensive line's been shaky the last couple of years. Now, they're going to have a good defense under Antonio Pierce. I believe that. I still think Minnesota's better. We talked about Sean Payton and the Broncos. They're looking to trade up, you would imagine. I think that's the best situation for him coaching-wise. But who's his weapons going to be? No more Jerry Jeudy. Your running backs are always hurt, whether it's Javonte Williams or somebody else. Your offensive line's been shaky. Cortland Sutton's been a good, productive player for you, but he's always injured as well. So while you're going to have a good coaching staff and a scheme that'll fit you, who are you getting the ball to? I think if you look at scheme, you look at division they're in and how wide open it is, I get the Detroit Lions were great, but Minnesota can win that division easily with the right quarterback. And you look at talent around him, I think Minnesota is the only answer. I think if you're an LSU fan, that's where you should want Jaden Daniels to go. Now, does that happen? I don't think so. I think Washington drafts Jaden at number 2. Yes. Has there been issues? Sure. We heard about the rumors. I just laid them out for you about his agent, about his thoughts on Jaden visiting with 4 different quarterbacks. Jeremy Fowler says there's some smoke to it. I don't think it happens. I think that if you're the Washington Commanders, you have to get this right. You have to bring in your new quarterback under a new coaching staff, under a new ownership. You have to get this one right. I do think they ultimately take Jaden, but if they don't, if they take Drake May, I think the NFL draft could get crazy because a lot of teams are going to be calling the Patriots trying to move up for Jaden Daniels. We'll see what happens. NFL draft first round is this Thursday night. All right, we're going to take a break. We're going to have a little bit more of an extended version of Take It or Leave It. That's coming up right after this here on the Hunt Palmer Show, 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
You are now listening to the Hunt Palmer Show.
Up to $2,000 in pin. LeBears. They got some fun stuff going on over at LeBears this weekend. You can visit them all weekend long for all the hoops action. Got the biggest screens, best food, best drink. Plus, they're giving away Pin Cash bonuses and prizes to Pin Play Rewards members. If you're not a member, you can join today by downloading and registering for the Pin Play app from the App Store. It's the Pin Play app from the App Store. You can unlock all the fun, including a chance to win up to $2,000 in Pin Cash. All this and more make LeBears Baton Rouge Casino your sports viewing headquarters. Of course, you know where LeBear's is, down there on River Road. They got the awesome sports book right there when you walk in to the left. They'll have all the games, whether you're watching some hoops, whether you're watching some Major League Baseball, whether you're watching the LSU Fighting Tigers. No matter what it is you want to watch, get a few dollars down. It's an awesome place to go. Must be 21 or older. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-522-4700.
In times of need, get a full list of phone numbers, websites, and other important emergency information on the Demco Stormwatch page at 1045ESPN.com.
Gulf Coast Bank and Trust is giving our customers the power to bank anywhere, anytime during this challenging event. And we're right there with you. Our mobile banking app is a smart way to manage your money and time. Gulf Coast Bank and Trust, the bank that cares about you.
He's here. Anyone want a Coors Light?
Oh, shoot, I forgot to play the song. I got a guy who can fix this.
There it is, the extra mile, on the border of expected and extraordinary for those willing to go further, like vans customized for work or play, with safety and tech to keep you connected. Supported by a 5-star sales, service, and finance team, and backed by the 1-star you know. So go the extra mile. It's never crowded, because so few have what it takes to go there. Mercedes-Benz Vans.
Hey, it's Matt Moscona. For years, you've heard me tell you about Insurance Network of Louisiana, helping you find better coverage for less money. But it's not just for your home and auto. They also offer commercial properties. So, retail stores, professional offices like doctors, dentists, attorneys, clothing boutiques. Insurance Network of Louisiana can find you better coverage for less money. They service the entire state of Louisiana, and they're local. So call today at 293-0450 or lainsurance.net.
I've been doing business with Luba for 25 years. They're dependable, trustworthy. It's just the attention to detail with our clients.
Our folks have years and years of experience. They're highly trained professionals, but many companies have that asset. What I'd like to think makes Luba a bit different is that we use those talents in a way that truly is dedicated to serving the needs of the folks who depend on us.
Power up your next project with John Deere Deals by Sunshine. Whether you're working hard or playing hard, our knowledgeable team will help you find the right product for you. Ask us about our amazing tractor package promotions. Learn more about what it means to be powered by Sunshine.
Up on Tuesday's OTB. We'll break down what's next for LSU baseball. And is there a glimmer of hope for the postseason? What do the Pelicans need to do to get it fixed for Game 2 against OKC? And new OTB mailbag. Off the bench, 7 to 10 a.m., 104.5 ESPN.
Mark your calendar and invite your friends as we celebrate the NFL Draft in style with the Boudreaux's Electric ESPN Baton Rouge Draft Party live from Don Juan's Cigar Bar and exclusively on the 104.5 ESPN YouTube channel. Join us Thursday, April 25th, just a few days from now at 7 p.m. and hang with the ESPN Baton Rouge Stream Team while indulging in the finest cigars paired with signature cocktails. It's the Boudreaux Electric ESPN Baton Rouge Draft Party at Don Juan's Cigar Bar and live on the 104.5 ESPN YouTube channel.
This is the Hunt Palmer Show, brought to you by Gulf Coast Office Products.
Welcome back into the final segment of the Hunt Palmer Show. We're going to wrap it up today like we do every day with a little bit of take it or leave it. Jacob Beck, take it away.
I'll take it.
Sometimes I do that and accidentally press the take it instead of the actual song, but Anyways, we'll get started here with the first one on the list. Anthony Edwards is a top 10 player in the NBA. Take it or leave it.
I'm going to take it after his playoff performance that he put on over the weekend. If you missed it, the Timberwolves absolutely dominate the Phoenix Suns in their first game of the playoffs. Anthony Edwards, 33 points, 9 rebounds, 5 assists. He's only 22 years old, and all of his playoff games combined, he is averaging over 34 points a game. He's a highlight reel waiting to happen. I think he's slowly creeping in that top 10, so I'm going to take it.
All right, kicker Graham Nicholson, who won the Lou Groza Award last year, is transferring to Alabama. Bama will have better kickers after Nick Saban leaving. Take it or leave it.
I'll take it. I'll take it. That was kind of Saban's Achilles heel, if you will. Now, Will Reichert was very good at the end of Saban's career, but we all remember Cade Foster. We all remember Adam Griffith. Look, this is a guy that came over from Miami, Ohio, and Beck just laid it out there. He's a Lou Groza Award winner this past season. So if Kalen DeBoer does nothing else, he'll have the kicking game figured out. So I'll take it.
All right, next one here. Jim Harbaugh returned to Michigan this weekend to make good on his promise and get a 15-0 tattoo. Harbaugh getting a tattoo. Take it or leave it.
I'll take it. Look, he's a man of his word, and look, he's a Michigan man. So if you haven't seen it, he got the Michigan M, and then he got 15-0 underneath it as part of the tattoo. So I'll take it. I like the move by Harbaugh. He takes the job to go to the Chargers, but he comes back for his alma mater spring game, shows him a little love. I'll take it.
All right, next one here. Scotty Scheffler won the RBC Heritage by 3 shots. Actually finished earlier this morning because of weather. He won for the 4th time in his last 5 starts and became the first player since Bernhard Langer in 1985 to win the week after capturing the Masters green jacket. Scheffler winning is good for golf. Take it or leave it.
Yeah, I'm taking this. I'll take it. Golf's needed a face of golf for a long time. You thought it was going to be Brooks Koepka. You thought it was going to be Jordan Spieth. Those two have kind of, they've cooled off a little bit as far as their hot streak's gone. Scotty Scheffler looks like he's here to stay. He's a pretty likable guy. There's nothing really controversial about him. I think, I started watching golf because of how dominant Tiger Woods was back in the day. So for those non-golfers out there, when you see one guy that's so dominant, you want to watch greatness. Anybody does, regardless of the sport. So, I think Scheffler winning is great for the sport of golf.
Yeah, I agree as well. Golf has kind of been in limbo. They've had guys that have come around, like you mentioned. Also, Rory McIlroy is one that comes to mind as somebody who people thought could ascend to that head throne of being the best golfer in the world. But Scotty Scheffler is literally playing at the same level that Tiger Woods played at in his prime in the early 2000s. That's not hyperbole when people say that, or when you hear it. They have advanced metrics that point out to that he is playing literally as good as Tiger Woods did. So pretty impressive stuff. And actually a note as well, nobody really knows about this, but there's actually a golfer in the LPGA who is doing the same thing. Her name is Nelly Korda, and she won her 5th tournament in a row on Sunday, and it was actually one of the majors that the LPGA plays. And so she is also dominating. So they got 2 dominant golfers in the golf landscape right now. So pretty cool for golf. But moving on here, Arch Manning threw for 355 yards and 3 touchdowns in the Texas spring game. Quinn Ewers better watch out. Take it or leave it.
I'm leaving this. Look, the University of Texas social media pages, whether it was football or whatever, had an absolute field day with this. Everything was going viral. Everyone needed to see more of Arch. Look, Arch showed a lot more progression this year than he did last year. If you remember, he was an early enrollee in the spring, and he looked bad. He looked like a true freshman that was in his first spring. He looked a lot better. He's shown that second-year improvement, but Quinn Ewers is one of the best quarterbacks in the country. I get it. Arch Manning's popular because of his last name, and he makes a highlight play every now and then, but Quinn Ewers is the guy there in Texas, barring something unforeseen, so I'm going to leave that.
Yeah, it's going to be very interesting, even though I doubt that the actual team is going to have any problems, but if Quinn Ewers happens to have any kind of struggles early in the season, you already know that all mass of Texas fans are going to be calling for Arch Manning to ascend to the throne. But I agree with you. Quinn Ewers is a really good quarterback, and Arch Manning, I think, is probably maybe still not ready for that top spot yet. But moving on to the last one here, I'm not quite sure who put this one in here. I think it just somehow found its way in here. But Caitlin Clark,
I know who put it in there.
Caitlin Clark's Indiana Fever jersey outsold the entire Dallas Cowboys team jersey sales for the whole year on draft night. The Cowboys stink. Take it or leave it.
I'm going to leave it.
Oh, really? You're going to leave it?
No, they don't stink. The Cowboys get into the playoffs every year. Okay,
Yeah.
There's a lot of teams that would like to be in the Cowboys' shoes.
Okay.
Does Dak Prescott stink? Yes, he does. Does Jerry Jones stink? Yes, he smells atrocious. Jerry Jones stinks with the best of them. The Dallas Cowboys do not stink. They are a competent organization. They're just not ran well. They have regular season success back, and they're backed up with not a lot of postseason success. Okay, I need you to understand that I get picked on relentlessly here at Guarantee Media.
I know.
Because I am a Cowboys fan, and everybody's like, oh, of course Taylor's jumping on the Cowboys bandwagon. I've never seen the Cowboys even in the Super Bowl, okay? So it's like, it's one thing to get picked on if you're like a Lakers or a Yankees fan and you hopped on just because they win. I get all the backlash of being a Cowboys bandwagon fan, but none of the on-field results, and I don't get any of the joy of watching my team win a championship. I am in the worst possible situation at this station because not only am I the only Cowboys fan, everyone else who works here absolutely despises the Cowboys.
Everybody despises the Cowboys, not just everyone that works here, Taylor. That's how it works.
I know one other Cowboys fan outside of someone in my family. One other guy. Great guy. Obviously, really good taste in professional sports teams, but he struggles the same way I do. You know, Beck, I don't appreciate that one too much.
Sorry. I'm just reporting the facts here.
But wait, she outsold the entire Cowboys team?
Yes, in one day.
I mean, Micah Parsons sold a lot of jerseys. That surprises me a little bit. All right, well, look, that's going to do it, thankfully, for Take It or Leave It. Beck trying to take a cheap shot there right before we get off the air. Look, fun show today. We had a variety of topics. Let things off talking LSU Gymnastics getting a national championship win over the weekend. LSU Baseball gets their first SEC Series win. Then we talk some LSU football, some New Orleans Saints, and then some NFL draft as a whole. Stay tuned for tomorrow's episode of The Hunt Palmer Show.
Gulf Coast Office Products is a nationally recognized Savin office equipment dealer based right here in Louisiana. Over 100 employees strong, Gulf Coast has the boots on the ground to support all vertical markets from education, engineering, legal, and finance. With the latest in office technology, from desktop to production segment units, Gulf Coast and Savin have the perfect fit for you. Call 225-756-2644.